caught them all.
You see, I'm so loyal to people, and maybe I'm loyal to a fault, but I'm so loyal to people that when somebody's slightly disloyal to me, I look upon it as a great act of horror.
And how are you different than you were 3 or 4 years ago?
Well, I used to say, and in fact, I think I said in my first book that, and maybe this was foolish, but I really meant it, that someday I'd like to maybe lose everything for a period of time to see who's loyal and who's not loyal. And I found out a lot of things.
Did you find out who's loyal and not loyal?
I tell you what, and you can't guess it. You can't predict it. You think certain people would be loyal no matter what, and it turns out that they're not. And you just can't predict it. It's very difficult.
And that
I think I would have treated people differently. I think that, you know, some of the people that were most loyal to me are people that I didn't think would be. Some of the people that were least loyal to me are people that I think I would have treated them differently. I think I would have treated different groups differently. I would have wiped the floor with the guys that weren't loyal, which I will now do, which is great. You know, I love getting even with people, but I will. Wipe.
You love getting even.
Oh, absolutely. You don't believe in the eye for the eye. You do.
No.
I know you well enough. I think you do. But anyway, but
tell me. I mean, you're going to get even with some people.
Yeah, I know. If given the opportunity, I will get even with some people that are disloyal to me. Come on, Governor. Even though you didn't endorse me.
He's not forgotten.
I never forget.
Good evening. Welcome back. Oh, darn it. Hold on. There we go. A little more light. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's having a great night. It is coming down. It's coming down hard. And it's almost time for the hammer, the real hammer, to fall. Now, there is some interesting news that just came across a little bit of a wire I picked up on, and it is so good. And I mean, it's only part of the puzzle, but it's really good. People have been whining and crying about in the hearings. Well, where's your evidence? All you can have are these bunch of testimonies, etc. But before I get to that, thank you for coming along. Appreciate all of you dropping in. This is amazing that they actually got this, but it shouldn't be. But first, I gotta have that cliffhanger. Gotta have it. Gonna do a little bit of news, just a little. Gonna start with Joe diGenova. We haven't heard from him in a long time. So let me... Oh yeah, I forgot I was going to switch. Hold on just a minute. Here we go.
President Trump's legal team delivered videotape evidence that alleges proof of vote tampering. Take a look at this if you haven't seen it yet. The team led by Rudy Giuliani presented this surveillance video from Georgia's State Farm Arena voting center. And what you're looking at, it appears to show
Keep
people
an
taking
eye
out
on
at
the lady
least
in
4
the
boxes
purple.
of ballots from underneath the table and then counting them after hours. Now, the attorney who presented the videotape yesterday said no election supervisors
Rocky.
were present when the ballots
Welcome,
were
everybody who came
counted.
in.
And joining us now to discuss is former U.S. Attorney for D.C., Joe diGenova, founding partner at diGenova and Tensing. Joe, before we get started, though, lots of questions to ask you, but there's something that you wanted to get off your chest today, right?
Yes, I wanted to just say to the Newsmax viewers that my comments the other day on the Howie Carr show on Newsmax about Mr. Krebs were made in complete jest. They were, I must say, a poor attempt at humor. They were hyperbole during a political discussion, and I meant no suggestion of harm or intention to harm Mr. Krebs or his family, and I apologize for any misunderstanding of my intentions.
All right, got it. To all of our viewers who are watching. But now let's go back to that latest video from Georgia, because everyone's talking about it. And I understand on our website, on the Newsmax website, we have information that President Trump has filed suit in Georgia asking the court to prevent certification of the results and order a new presidential election based on significant systemic misconduct, fraud, and other irregularities. What can you tell us about that lawsuit?
That was filed by Cleta Mitchell of Foley and Lardner, a great lawyer who's been down in Georgia working on this for a number of weeks. It is called a contested election lawsuit. And what she is alleging on behalf of the president and the campaign is a violation of the Georgia state constitution for equal protection and due process, which are guaranteed by the Georgia state constitution, violations of the Georgia election law statutes, which require very stringent conditions for absentee ballots, all of which were violated during this election. The violations allowing felons to vote, violations allowing people who were too young to vote, violations for allowing people who did not live in the state to vote, and on and on. It is a 64-page document outlining all of the violations clearly established. And of course, we know from the video yesterday that was revealed inside the counting center that that was just one of many instances of improper counting.
Mm-hmm. And I understand it says hundreds of thousands of illegal votes counted in the state of Georgia, including over 10,000 deceased voters as well. My question, though, is with this runoff quickly approaching, and we know how important it is for Republicans specifically to participate, how will they know that these issues that you're bringing up are resolved, or how can they be resolved before the runoff takes place?
Well, that's an issue that has to take care of itself. But for the runoff, Republican voters have to decide they're going to participate in the election. They don't have any choice. This is not an either or. They have to participate in this election, because if they do, and if the Georgians send to the Senate 2 Democrats, that will mean that Joe Biden, if he is president, will control the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they will be able to jam through an unbelievable agenda that will change this country forever. And so there's no doubt that while this is being worked on through these lawsuits and through the litigation and through the appeals to the legislature of Georgia, voters, Republican voters, must show up and vote. If they do not, they will be abdicating their responsibility to go forward. One of the things that those hearings showed yesterday in Georgia is that there is a need for an investigation, but that should not interfere with Republicans voting. They must vote.
In terms of AG Barr, I know that Representative Andy Diggs, he's called for Barr to release the findings of his investigation so far. What have you heard from him, if anything?
Well, I haven't heard anything from the Attorney General, but I know this. I know the president is disappointed because he's a man of action and wants things done yesterday. Bill Barr is a great lawyer. He's a fantastic Attorney General. I know he continues to work on this. These criminal investigations take time. They are not the kind of things that could be handled like a television drama with a 1-hour, conflagration and then a finale. but Bill Barr is a terrific guy, and I have absolute confidence in him.
All right. Joe diGenova, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm sure our viewers appreciated your statement at the top as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest.
Now, with that said, we're gonna pause it right there on Georgia because a lot's been focused on Georgia. It is a very important state, most definitely, but we got to think about the other states. We still haven't heard much from Arizona or Pennsylvania at this time. From my understanding, there is a halt on counting, and I'm not sure exactly where the hell that's at. We're focused so much on Georgia because there's a runoff next month for the Senate, and we must get all the Georgians to get out there, vote for the two GOP candidates. It's very important. Today, Kemp finally came out and urged the legislator to get moving on this. So that is progress. But we're going to come back to Georgia in a minute. Right now, there is a few things going on in Michigan as well. It is still being haggled over, if you will. Them look like they look like videos. I know. It's exactly. Let's see. Oh, I hit a button, damn it. Okay. Let me make sure I got the right one. Okay. Well, I'll just read it to you since it's only a tweet. Brendan B. Kertrick, K-E-R-I-K. Breaking news: Michigan State judge orders forensic inspection aimed at Emerson County election machines. And prohibits and the destruction of evidence resulting in the 2020 elections, so they will be forensically inspected. That is very important. That's how we're going to get a lot of things done. When we have, according to the GOP, state of Michigan. So I want to make sure I get the right one here. Okay. Brunson demands data deleted. In Lansing, Michigan, and this was today, while the Michigan Republican Party joined bipartisan calls for the full audit of November 2020 elections results, Secretary of State Janice Brunson has pushed for a mass deletion of electric data. That's the Democrats. That's Whitmer's girl. In a memo to county clerk earlier this week, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson told clerks to delete electronic poll books, software, and assorted files, despite multiple calls for an audit of the election, including a bipartisan request from the Wayne County Board of Canvassers. According to the Michigan Bureau of Elections, the data should not be deleted if a post-election audit is planned but is not yet been completed. Secretary Benson moved to request the deletion of electronic data amidst bipartisan call for example of her pushing partisan politics over what is best for Michigan, said Michigan Republican Chair Laura Cox. With the election allegations rampant across the state, it is vital that we have an audit before the election data is deleted. Secretary Benson moves to delete this data before the audit, raising serious questions. What are the Democrats hiding? They're hiding the evidence. They want to erase it. Remember, I told you, Whitmer is connected to Dominion. She gave them $25 million to come here, and she is directly connected to Dominion. One of her friends, if you will, is now, I believe, a mayor in one of these cities in Michigan. So that's what they're hiding. And if these allegations are very true, that is criminal. I can tell you that because you can't do that shit. It's just as bad as what everybody else has been doing in Pennsylvania, Georgia. It's got to be. Also, Rudy Giuliani and Laura Cox. This is actually from today as well. Have a few words. There are many that tried the CTA. Well, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to see if there's any criminal law that says they cannot do that. I'm pretty sure there is. And what could be the penalty?
Just hours before the Michigan legislature held an official hearing on election integrity with Rudy Giuliani and the Trump legal team, Giuliani gave a legal briefing with Michigan's GOP chair. One America's Chanel Rion has more from
Wednesday, from the Lansing, Michigan GOP headquarters, Trump lead attorney Rudy Giuliani gave a legal briefing with Michigan's GOP chair Laura Cox on the issue of illegal ballots that have corrupted Michigan's election.
Unfortunately and tragically, we're living through, I believe, the worst voter fraud scandal in the history of our country. I can't think in American history of a voter fraud scandal, at least that we knew about or was uncovered, of this dimension. It is not in one state, it's not in two states, not in three. It's in approximately 7 or 8 very carefully selected places. Carefully selected because most of the skullduggery, most of the fraud, most of the false ballots, most of the intimidation, most of the phony ballots that are printed are done in cities where Democrats are dictators, where Democrats own the city.
The legal briefing was largely aimed at an audience of grassroots activists in Michigan who have pushed state leadership to take action against illegal ballots in their state.
It's our duty as Americans to find out the truth regarding the vulnerabilities in our election system. Then we must work to ensure they are never exploited again.
GOP Chair Laura Cox assured voters the GOP leadership was unified in Michigan, and since the Republicans hold the majority in the Michigan State House and Senate, Republicans there have the authority to act. All right, we're here with the Michigan GOP Chair, Laura Cox. Thank you so much for joining us. So, a couple questions for you today. The Michigan legislature is mostly on board with investigating election integrity in your state of Michigan. How effective can they be without the support of the governor and the Secretary of State?
Well, I think the important thing is we are talking about it. They are looking at, we have over 1,000 complaints, and the legislature, the leadership is stepping up. They're listening to these folks. They're going to investigate that, and I think it's very important. And we're going to push and demand that the governor and the Secretary of State take action, because we think it's very important to look at these irregularities. We demand a secure and transparent. That's what.
Now that our AG is actually telling us to either put up or shut up, and I'm sure we're going to be putting up a lot.
election. That's what the people of Michigan deserve, and we're gonna work to get that.
Tell us a little bit about feedback you've been getting ever since yesterday's hearing here at the state capitol. What have you heard?
I think people are happy that the legislature is doing this oversight committee. They recognize how important it is. They recognize that their voices are being heard.
The Trump legal team argues there are at least 300,000 contested ballots that if the state legislature audited would find were illegally cast.
In most states, there were more mail ballots than ballots in person. Mail ballots are hard to secure. They're hard to determine the accuracy of them. And if there's a desire to cheat, then you can take tremendous advantage. And the thing about this Democrat scheme to steal this election, in each one of the cities that it happened, it has the same pattern, the exact same pattern. The core of it is to cut out Republican poll watchers, Republican observers, watchers.
Just the day prior, the Michigan Senate Oversight Committee hosted a 7-hour hearing for dozens of witnesses who came forward testifying to election irregularities they had witnessed in their districts. Wednesday's 6 p.m. hearing adds to their testimony. Rudy Giuliani and a lineup of expert witnesses who have each testified to irregularities found in Dominion voting systems and extensive data analysis. The key difference between the Arizona and Michigan GOP is that Michigan GOP leadership is supportive of the efforts to investigate election irregularity and have the majority power to act. But Arizona GOP leadership in the House and Senate leans more on the John McCain and Joe Biden scale and are dragging their feet despite widespread pressure from their constituents. The Trump legal team's big ask of the Michigan leadership is to formally investigate voting irregularities and to simply cast out illegal ballots, a game-changing move in the fight for election integrity. Chanel Rion, One American News, Lansing.
It's good to know that we're finally getting somewhere here, because I actually had a lot of doubt. Listen to those hearings when this thing first started. They really didn't seem to really pay attention, and of course the Democrats on the panel were very hostile, and I don't know her name. I'm not familiar with her, but she wanted to take somebody's name down, and that's what she was most interested in. You know, either to dox her is my guess, and that's only what I'm doing is guessing, or who knows. She could always get some of her thug friends. I'm sure there's plenty around there. So this is kind of where we stand in Michigan right now. We are moving forward. I have not had time to look for the legal documents that were filed yesterday. I've been kind of busy. My apologies for that. Breadmaker, I wouldn't want to get in your governor's from office. I don't know. I heard she was on the green light for impeachment hearings. Now I hear that somebody dropped it. So I'm getting mixed messages right now. She's gotten 2 counties to back up Republican legislator got 2 counties to back it up. So it does have the green light to go. Again, I just haven't had a lot of time to look into this. I've been trying to figure out and look out for any type of hearings that may be coming up. She needs, yes, she does. She's yeah. Okay, she's a bitch. I'll say it. I don't care. You know, that's what she is. I gotta call it like I see it. You know, it's just terrible. But oh well, screw it. I can call it a lot worse. Now she is actually, our governor has actually extended the lockdown. Shocker. To the 15th. Hey, Carpo. How's it doing, man? Check your DMs. Hope you're doing well. I haven't seen you around. It is amazing. I mean, this is getting very interesting, and I think it's going to get more as we go along. But somebody got their hand cut in a cookie jar already. Even though it's been 2 weeks, who knows how long they've had this evidence. And they're really identifying people right now. I'm going to play this first. Let's see. Make sure I give you the right one. That's not it. Yeah, it's not. So Facebook. Okay, it's not giving me that for some reason. I'll get it there. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Now we are back to Georgia, which is again is the main hotspot of this contested race, along with you're having trouble with that one, aren't you? We're back to Georgia, where this is kind of the hot spot because once again, President or Vice President Pence was in Georgia today to rally for the senators and get people fired up. And it was a good, he always has a good speech, but you know, he needs a little pizzazz. He needs a little more something. God bless him, you know, he's a good guy. But personality wise, I personally think he needs a little personality, you know. Now tomorrow, the president is going down to Georgia for a rally, if you will, or peaceful protest. Tomorrow, I don't know what time. I will find it. Oh, right there it is. But it doesn't say what time it is. It's going to be unless it's at 5 o'clock. I didn't even see it. I was so focused on everything else. But let's hear what these guys got to say. It's going to get very interesting here.
On until about 7. If you are here and you would like to fill out your statement in affidavit form, you can do that down in room 341, and that will be collected and it will be delivered to the members of the committee. And there will be a notary available down there for you to do that from the office of the Secretary of the Senate. So we will now pick up where we were, I think, with Scott Walter. Scott Walter. Okay.
Really listen.
Chairman Ligon, distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to discuss the issue of a private interest group selectively funding Georgia election offices. I applaud your investigating all sorts of election irregularities, but even if, for the sake of argument, not one vote in the...
Sorry, can I interrupt you? Could you announce who you're with? And
I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm Scott Walter, president of the Capital Research Center. Okay. Washington, D.C. We're a think tank that specializes in studying the nonprofit world.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
No trouble. As I said, just for the sake of argument, let's say not one vote in the whole state was fraudulent or miscounted. You would still have the problem that I'm here to describe, and it did not occur only in the past. As we speak, the very same private nonprofit is continuing to offer local Georgia election offices money. This supposedly nonpartisan nonprofit is itself funded to the tune of $350 million by one billionaire family, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg's. Why should this disturb you or the citizens of Georgia? I can answer that with a simple question. Does every one of you facing your next election know that some geographic locales hold more votes for you than others? Do you know the demographic characteristics of persons most likely to vote for you? Their ages, marital status, sex, race, and the like. Of course you do. That's how you and every candidate build electoral majorities and win. Political activists in and out of the official political parties know these simple truths as well, and they use ever more sophisticated micro-targeting to turn out voters. That's fine when the activists are connected to our political parties, or when they're in groups like the National Rifle Association or Planned Parenthood, whose legal status publicly acknowledges that they intend to influence public policy, register voters, and otherwise engage in political battles in ways that often benefit one political party or the other. By contrast, it's not right when in Georgia and other battleground states you have political parties and elections significantly helped by the type of nonprofit that's not supposed to get in the middle of elections, the so-called 501c3 nonprofit that's supposed to be charitable, educational, religious, and strictly nonpartisan. I don't want to see donors or C3 nonprofits anywhere along the political spectrum subtly manipulating elections through gifts to government offices. But this year in Georgia, tens of millions of dollars from that single nonprofit, funded by that single billionaire family, the Zuckerbergs, first flowed into a C3 called the Center for Tech and Civic Life, and then those millions flowed into dozens of Georgia election offices. Not in all the counties, only in 44 of the state's 159 counties, according to CTCL's limited public disclosure. More than 2/3 of counties in Georgia received nothing. That money made a dramatic difference in your election this November, and it was not a nonpartisan difference. You shouldn't be surprised the center's results were partisan.
That is actually the video with the kids in the background.
Because its leaders all come from a Democratic-aligned nonprofit group called the New Organizing Institute, which was so successful boosting the Democratic Party in elections that the Washington Post gushed it was, quote, the Democratic Party's Hogwarts of digital wizardry, close quote. Online messaging and all forms of voter outreach were this group's bread and butter. These wizards know how to turn the right people into registered voters and get them to the polls for their favored candidates. The Capital Research Center, where I work, has not been able to verify all the funding the Center for Tech and Civic Life gave Georgia counties, because the center isn't disclosing its grants to us or the Associated Press or other inquirers, even though it will have to disclose those grants in its next IRS filing a year from now. But using local government records and news accounts, we've captured many of the grant amounts, including what were likely the largest ones given to the largest urban areas. I'll read you just a few of our findings. While I do, ask yourself, do these numbers sound nonpartisan? Should private interest groups like this, backed by a billionaire or two, rather than the state legislators of Georgia, be allowed to pick and choose where to boost election funding and turnout in the Peach State? Okay, first, hoping to forestall criticisms like mine, I suspect, CTCL funded more counties won by Republican candidate Trump than by Democratic candidate Biden, 27 counties to 17. But that's misleading. A much better comparison, CTCL funded 21% of Trump counties versus 55% of Biden counties. So a Biden county was over 2.5 times more likely to receive funding. 9 out of 10 of CTCL's largest grants went to Biden counties. Or look at the 10 counties in Georgia that had the biggest shifts toward the Democratic candidate in their voting from 2016 to 2020. 9 of the 10 received CTCL grants. And those 9 grantees averaged a 13.7% shift toward the Democrat. 2 of the counties, Cobb and Gwinnett, were among the 4 counties that delivered Biden the most votes. Of those 4 counties that gave Biden 100,000 votes or more, CTCL funded all 4, Clayton, DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett. And it funded those counties lavishly. Per capita, those counties were funded between $4.38 and $10.47 for every man, woman, and child. By contrast, so far as we currently know, only 1 county, won by Trump, was funded over $1 per capita. That was Cherokee, but its Democratic vote leapt up 70% compared to a 24% rise in its Republican vote. Trump counties like Carroll, Camden, and Lumpkin got around a $0.50 or less. Biden carried 33 counties that delivered him 10,000 votes or more. CTCL funded 70%. By contrast, Trump carried 46 counties by 10,000 votes or more. CTCL funded only 20%. So that means the most vote-rich counties for Biden were 3.5 times more likely to be funded than Trump's most vote-rich counties. In sum, if you total the votes in all the 44 counties that CTCL funded, the Republican presidential vote rose by 207,000 this election versus the last. The Democratic presidential vote jumped by 530,000, or more than 2.5 times the Republican rise. Of course, the CTCL is not the only factor in this year's elections in Georgia, but I insist it is not a small factor. I urge you to investigate every dealing it had with every county. Did the contacts begin from the center's side? What preconditions did the center put on its funding? Did the counties fulfill their budgetary and other obligations under Georgia state law when using these funds? Who designed voter education material and advertisements? Was any money spent on training that would help prevent vote fraud, such as how to match signatures? Above all, I urge you to consider whether you ever again want to permit privatized elections in Georgia, where wealthy donors steer resources so unequally and inequitably. Some states forbid such funding. You can too.
I have a question for you. Are you in essence saying that by doing this that campaign finance laws are being circumvented? Is that part of what you're saying?
My specialty is nonprofit law, and I can tell you that the federal nonprofit law for C3s like this is very murky. It's possible to do voter registration and get out the vote if you're a C3 legally, but it has to be strictly nonpartisan. If it's not strictly nonpartisan, then you are violating federal tax law. I think it's a shame that your colleagues in DC's Congress haven't done a better job of spelling out that line. I can tell you that Republican and conservative groups, they do not do this with C3 money. C3 foundations don't fund, and C3 groups don't execute voter registration and get out the vote. They just don't, because they're scared they're going to break the law. The left is shameless, and because the line is murky, they're happy to leap over it. You are right, I'm not an election expert, but you're right too that the FEC might be persuadable that this was an in-kind contribution to one side or the other, but that's not for me to say.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Senator Jordan.
Thank you for being here. It's my understanding that these were COVID relief grants. Is that correct?
Ma'am, that's what they called them.
But they are called COVID relief grants?
That's what they're called. I don't believe that the Democratic partisans who actually run the institution suddenly discovered a concern for COVID, and the fact that they are experts in voter turnout for one particular party entirely slipped their mind.
And specifically, the money was to help counties and local election officials to ensure safe and healthy elections because of the pandemic. Isn't that correct?
That's what they said, ma'am.
Okay, and with respect to that, the counties could seek those grants, get the grants, and then use them very specifically for PPE or any other initiatives that were intended to make it safer for voters to actually vote during a pandemic.
Well, you know, ma'am, that is a wonderful question, because I think you should be investigating those counties to see if that's what they did. I can show you some of the contracts that have been made public that were made with places like Philadelphia, for instance. PPE was not a very high priority in the contracts that they made with those government jurisdictions. What mattered was things like advertising and voter education materials and the rest. So I'm sorry, I don't believe they're very sincere.
Okay, so let me just close the circle here. Do you have any evidence whatsoever that anything untoward happened with those funds with respect to the counties that got the grants? In Georgia, not anywhere else, in this state.
There is very little evidence that the money went toward actual COVID concerns. And again, I urge you all to investigate that to see where the truth lies. The legality of all this is highly murky under both election law and tax law.
So the answer is no.
Ma'am, I think I use a very good 501c3 tax lawyer to make sure that we don't violate anything. When I sent him my testimony, his instant response was their tax exemption should be revoked. So that expert in law thinks that just what you heard today is absolute evidence of impropriety.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other questions? Thank you, sir, for being here today. We appreciate your testimony.
Thanks so much. It's an honor.
I think I would like to ask if I could break with protocol. We have Mark Davis here. I need to get him up if that's okay. Mr. Davis, if you would come on up, please. And Mr. Davis, if you would tell us your name, where you live, what you do, and I know you've been here a while, but tell us your concerns.
Thank you for having me, everyone. Pleasure to speak with you today. My name is Mark Davis, and I'm the president of Data Productions. The committee has a copy of my sworn affidavit. For the sake of time, I've kind of boiled it down to maybe a 3 or 4 minute presentation, and hopefully I won't get too far in the weeds with you here. I'm certainly going to try to keep your attention. I've been working with voter data for more than 30 years. I've testified as an expert witness in a total of 5 election disputes. When I processed an update to my copy of the Georgia database I received in August.
Well, of course.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Project Ver.
Of course, they cut it off at that point. Right when it was getting interesting. So now we're getting to the financial part of it. It sounds like there was a lot of dark money involved as usual, because they think they can buy, once again, an election. This is not the first time they've done so, and it's not going to be the last. Look how much money they spent in the 2016 election and completely lost. It is unbelievable. These people continue to do what they do. As they always have, they have jumped the shark. Basic terms, they've jumped the shark. Let me see here. Now, while we're in, make sure I got everything worked up here. Okay. Now that we're back in Georgia, it is, as I've seen when we first began, and I showed you yesterday, the video of the workers doing something after. No, that's not what I want. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, so of course I have a corrupt file, and this is the file I needed. But showed you the beginning where they were showing the cameras in the place where they were counting the ballots, right? Told you to keep an eye on the lady in the purple. Well, that lady is her.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table.
Okay, we're back to
this
that
table, the black one, was placed.
But that's better. Okay, we're back in that same place. Now, come on. No, come on. Now shoot. Okay. This lady. This is the lady in the purple shirt who was taking out the suitcases. Imagine that.
Yeah. So, hey Dion, what's going on? How are you? Yeah. So, I got a lot of work to do, y'all. So I'm working 7 days a week, but I'm getting it done. I was out for 10 days because I ain't like the way things were going, so I just said, yeah, anywho, I'll see y'all when I see you. But I'm back, ready to work. I'm gonna let y'all see this. Okay, don't say nothing. Listen, look.
These people are really dumb.
So that's what's going on in Fulton County. Voters registration. Sir, can I have some work? It's been 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Uh-huh.
That's all you give me?
I'm going to give you but 5. I come to work, y'all, and they talk about me. Oh, they talk about me. I don't care. Because I told them I didn't want to work. Oh, Dion, thank you. Thank you, love. When I didn't want to work, I took off for 10 days. Now I'm back at work. Give me some work. Because I come to work. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Oh, you going to give me... Oh, you just gave me one. God bless you real good. Thank you.
I want to give you 2. I ain't trying to overwork you.
Overwork? Ain't no such thing. I'm going to be here till 7 o'clock. Okay. Y'all see all this I got to do? I got to do all this. Enter all these absentee ballots.
Don't mind Miss Ruby.
Whatever.
Okay, we got that far. So we know what she looks like. We know what she's done. But amazing how we have our daughter with us, right? Imagine that. Let me make sure I got the right one here. This thing does have a tendency to jump. So when you take a camera into a station that you're not supposed to be doing, that's not good. And she knows she's not supposed to be doing it. Let me make sure this is the correct one. Yeah, I think this is it. And well, here we go. This is the lady in the video. Her name is Ruby Freeman. Imagine that. You see up here on one of the top boxes is the research. Then the second one over is the description. Bottom is the let's say suspicious move, and then watch all of them. Watch. Has anyone seen this? I don't know if you can see that pretty well on the box. This video is circulating today that shows Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Shaya Freeman, allegedly conspiring to hide a UBS flash drive and electric from an election worker. The footage shows the two huddled and talking at a table, which a young man approaches them, and Shia Freeman hands him what looks like a UBS flash drive. Freeman suspectedly puts the UBS drive in the elections worker's pocket, and he then walks away. Several Trump campaign expert witnesses have testified the UBS drives can easily be used to alter data, even flip votes in the Dominion machines. At first glance, it is difficult to understand what is transpiring. Twitter used something, I don't know his name, seems to be putting a missing piece in the puzzle with his analysis of the behavior of the video, which has slowed down, so that the viewer can better understand the allegations here. And I will show you that very soon. The USB drive shows Freeman and her daughter is significant because it follows the heels of the explosive suitcase video relative of yesterday's hearings by lawyer Jack Pike, showing both Freeman and her daughter worked late on November 3rd. They were among the 4 election workers left behind inside the tabulation center in the State Farm area in Fenton County between the approximately 10 p.m. to 1 p.m. the night of November 3rd and 4th. They were seen putting 4 suitcases under the tables, cloaked on the tablecloth, and running their ballots through the tabulation machines, which is difficult to confirm their identities with 100% accuracy. There are identifying characteristics that seem to confirm both videos. I did not. Let me look at this video real quick. Okay, that's still the video. I got one more for you. Hang on. Let's click that off for a second. I want to look at this. I don't think I've seen this. I want to be sure what I am seeing.
What's going on, everybody?
Okay. So what I could do is, I did not see this, But I will let you see the video first, and then go to the YouTube video. How's that? Now this is what can be seen. Now watch closely. Now watch the woman in the hair, long braided hair. And then she puts it in her pocket. Now, with that, we'll go to this video. Yep, that's it.
Everybody, it's your boy Benjamin with the X's on the side, reporting here from BenBC News. I'm looking at this video from a Fulton County poll worker and the Fulton County, Georgia Supervisor of Registrations. And so what we're seeing here is Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Shay Freeman Moss, in what appears to be the concealment and transferring of a USB hard drive on election night while they were counting votes. So I'm going to go over this video. I have it in slow motion, and we're just going to break it down real quick. So this is Ruby Freeman right here. And you're going to see that she starts the chain of events. She grabs the USB.
That is.
Then what appears to be USB, I should say. Then she then passes it to Shay Freeman Moss here, who's the supervisor of registrations. Mm-hmm. Ruby Freeman is the one you've seen on all the videos, and you saw pulling ballots out of beneath a table at the State Farm Arena. She was the one pulling them out there, and you could see it clearly. So she's going to pass what looks to be a USB to her daughter, Shay Freeman Moss, and then a third unidentified male comes up, and then she passes that to him. So let's check it out and watch this in slow motion. So there's the third guy. He comes up, he's in the view of the camera, he stands around for a little bit. You see Shay starts to look around as her mom reaches back. So right here she starts to reach back. You're going to see Shay start maneuvering, eventually look in this direction to see if anybody is watching. You're going to see him looking in that direction as well. So there she goes. They're both looking this way. She's reaching right here. She just grabs something. She's looking over here.
That's when you know they're up to no good, they're being real shady, because they're on the lookout to see if anybody's watching them.
He's looking out there. She just grabs something right here. Right? Clearly something in her hand right there. Grabs it. Her hand curls up. Holds it. Turns around. Puts it in her chair. You see this? He's constantly looking. She's looking. They don't realize there's a camera right behind them. It's in her hand right here. She keeps turning. She's concealing it. She looks back at him. Gives him the key to move forward. Right? She still has it right here. This whole time his hands are in his pockets. He starts to do the stretch where, you put your arms up. Starts to do that stretch. She stands up, takes it from in her hand right here. As he takes his hands out of his pockets, you see her reach around and slide it into his pocket.
I missed that
He
part.
does the fake yawn, the fake stretch, the middle school, I'm gonna put my arm around you during the movie. Fake stretch right here. You see her hand coming up, slides it right in there. Now let's look again. You see her hand not just by his pocket, but you see her finger open up for the release right there. Check that out. Right there, you see the finger release. Drop it in. And we're moving on.
Total busted. They are so screwed. I hope the hell they get a long time in prison for this. And if ain't nothing done, I don't know what to tell you. I'm telling. I got plenty of things to say, but I won't say it. So that is probably the most damning stuff. On top of eyewitness account, we have actual film and video of the crime. Yes, it is a crime. I am definitely going to see how many years it could possibly be up to for these people to go to prison. I hope they do go to prison. This is why we're so pissed off. And I hope Giuliani got a hold of this. Of all people, he needs to see this. So we got to continue to make our voices heard. We got to continue to demand stop this steal. We got to demand an audit, fair account. This election was trying to be stolen. It's not going to, but just the attempt itself is treason, as far as I'm concerned. Pure and simple, this is another attempt of a coup. They just don't stop, do they? They never learn their lessons. You know what? If there's one thing you learn about these guys, is they continue to jump the shark. They go too far and they think they're going to get away with it. In the past they have. This time they're not. Hell has no fury like Trump. And if you watch the video at the beginning, you got it, right? I got two things for you I could play. I can play Thomas Wichter, or I can play the Sidney Powell, protest, if you will. Peaceful protest. I'm not sure which one you would like to see more. I got a couple of Thomas Wichter. I really haven't seen what's going on much in the news. I've tried to keep it a little bit light today, as much as possible. Would you like to see Thomas Wichter or Sidney Powell? It's up to you. I can fire both up. I got Sidney Powell. I got both wrecked up. It was a great... this was from the other day with Sidney Powell. And the only thing I don't like about is Ali. He's a chump. He is fake MAGA. And I can't be convinced otherwise. So that's the only thing I don't like about it. But I have not seen either videos, so we could see them both together. Wichter, you saw both. Well, okay, you saw Wichter and I saw. So you want to see Wichter? This is what he calls like the Democrat planned for Trump. Democrats planned for Trump. Of course, why he titled it Planet 9 from Outer Space, you got me. Okay, I'll play Wichter. Wichter's good. Let me make sure I get the right. Well, here, let me do this first. I gotta hit some commercials real quick and be right back.
And all boogieing and boogie-related movements worldwide. Public safety is the main concern, they say, and people are reminded that boogieing is contagious. Anyone caught boogieing will be dealt with in the harshest terms, police have reported. right,
sometimes this world can get you down. There's just one thing you can do. You gotta get back up and shake it all around. No one's gonna tell me how I'm gonna boogie. Come on, everybody boogie bumper tonight. No one's gonna tell me how I'm gonna boogie. Come on, everybody boogie bumper tonight. No one's gonna tell me how to boogie. Come on, everybody boogie bumper tonight.
One more hour, the morning comes. Faded lights, the sound of drums. Too far alone, too tired back down.
Hey, UK Neil here. Join me on Monday, Wednesday and Friday nights for the Great Awakening Show. 5 PM US Eastern Time, 10 PM UK Time. Get out of that matrix and get a dose of truth. See ya there.
Promises that this will last.
And Fighting for the Republic, the regular show, is on at 10:30 on Sunday nights. And my partner in crime, Beth Duffy, is going to be doing a few more days during the week, a little bit earlier, because it's available, let's just say. So we're looking on maybe 2 more days during the week. We'll talk some more about it, and we'll definitely let you know. And I can make modified changes to the promo that gives you a better idea when it will be on. So please also join the Best Closure Show. You can find them on Facebook. And don't forget Winning TV on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6:30, both days. And tomorrow night, The Speakeasy and Promises Kept. Make sure you tune in. It's great shows, very positive, upbeat, very informative. So please join. And you have Coffee Talk with Sandra, which is Monday through Friday. And please tune in to that as well. Okay, I will go ahead and play Thomas Richter. Let's see here. Very, very fascinating man. I've not only started listening to him more, but listen to Jordan Peterson. Very smart guy. He has a range of subjects, from socialism to anything. He brilliant man. Really getting into that. So here is Mr. Richter. There's 2, by the way.
Hello. I am back to my...
Oh, did it come on? All right. Where'd it go? All right. Technical difficulties, folks. Okay. Okay. 5. There we go.
My usual format. So let's see what happens. The Democrats have sealed their fate, and I will explain how in just a minute. But I'd like to start with some unsolicited advice. There's you would be doing yourself a great favor by simply reading everything you're hearing and not drawing any conclusions, because there's tons and tons of disinformation out there, and basically everybody's lying to you. The Trump administration is lying in order to throw their enemies off the scent. The Democrats are lying.
I would disagree with him. I don't think he's lying. I think he is. It's a diversion.
Lying in order to muddy the waters and make you think certain things are happening when they're not happening. And then there are rank opportunists who are just trying to get views and clicks and, giant audiences. So you would be extremely well advised to not draw any conclusions. For example, there's a very dramatic story about servers in Hamburg, Germany, and how they were acquired. Well, you don't have to physically acquire a server. All you have to do is hack into it. Hackers got into the cloud servers, which are supposed to be impregnable. So keep in mind that Donald Trump has the best hackers in the world. All right. So let's count up who he's got at his beck and call. He's got Cyber Command. He's got the National Security Agency. He's got the Defense Intelligence Agency. He's got Intelligence Support Activity. And he's got the Defense Clandestine Service. All right. So all of those people are extremely schooled in computer issues. And as shocking as it is, this election fraud was carried out by people who were completely hooked up to the internet. And Trump said in his first press conference since the election that he has all the real information, and it's the biggest story in American history. So he's going to release what he has. The Democrats have forced his hand. He has no choice now. I think he was going to anyway, but now he has to. And again, I'll explain why in a second. So try not to draw any conclusions about what you're hearing. You can still read it and everything, but just the only person you can really trust right now is Trump. And people who know the real story are Trump, Pence, Mike Pompeo. He's former CIA director, and as Secretary of State, he has the highest security clearance in the land. He knows what's going on. And okay, I got asked today if I had contacts in the administration. No, I don't have contacts in the administration, but you can still find out what's going on by talking to people who were not in the administration, but whose qualifications to speak are impeccable. So I can tell you for a fact, and that's confirmed, that military intelligence is working on this. So, it's not something for you to worry about. Okay, Trump is making sweeping changes that all indicate that he's going to be here for a second term. So he's cleaned out the Pentagon, and he fired several advisors from the Defense Policy Board. Henry Kissinger, Madeleine Albright, a bunch of my usual. So Trump is preparing for a much more hardline second term, and those of us who support him know that this is a good thing, because a hardline Trump is a pragmatic, realistic Trump. And we've had, I heard some nutter who Biden says he's going to appoint, and I don't know if she's going to be Secretary of State or whatever, but she gave this speech that was from Bizarro World. Diplomacy is back. What, we've had no diplomacy? We've had no diplomacy? Like we only helped the Sudanese avoid another civil war through envoy Dennis Booth. That's quite a diplomatic coup. We helped negotiate multiple peace treaties between Israel and Arab countries. That's pretty good diplomacy. We didn't drop bombs on anyone in order to get them to comply. We helped the Serbs and the Kosovars, actually the Kosovans, I think. Kosovars are, forget it. I'm going to go off on a tangent. We helped the Serbia and Kosovo come to an economic agreement that will someday allow them to have a full peace agreement. That's a huge diplomatic coup. So diplomacy is back. I mean, this is a lunatic. This is somebody, I mean, you know, she's already disqualified herself by saying that. I forgot one of the stories you need to not put too much emphasis on was that the Justice Department had approved the use of firing squads. That's not true. All the Justice Department did was approve different forms of execution so that federal prosecutors could get around the fact that multiple states ban lethal injection. And, you know, they will yank the licenses of any doctor who's involved and all of that. So that's why the Justice Department has said that federal prosecutors can now choose the firing squad or the electric chair or whatever, because it doesn't involve state actors. You know, if you install your own electric chair in a federal prison, there's nothing the state can do about it. I suppose they could demand that you remove your prison from the state, but then, you know, you'll find maybe all our federal prisons will end up in Texas. You know, why not? So that's another story you need to not read too much into. But it's definitely true that Trump is preparing for a much more hardline second term. And, you know, it's necessary. So what have the Democrats done to make sure that Trump releases everything? Well, they've declared that Trump is a national security threat. So they started out by saying that Trump challenging the election is a threat to national security, which it's not. You know, Jill Stein challenged the election results. George W. Bush did. And, you know, multiple... Hillary Clinton was being, you know, told she should challenge the results by all the same people who are now calling Trump a national security threat. So that's one way they called him a national security threat. And then they're also saying that Trump is impeding a smooth transition, which he's not. But they say that makes him a national security threat. Now, we have Democrats saying that Trump can't be trusted with national secrets after he leaves office because we don't know who he'll give them to. So, there's only one logical conclusion. The Democrats are gearing up to imprisoning Trump indefinitely as a threat to national security and holding him for as long as they want. And Joe Biden will sign an executive order. And, okay, my brother asked, aren't there legal remedies? Of course, it's completely unconstitutional, but the Supreme Court doesn't have an enforcement arm. And when Obama behaved completely unconstitutionally, even when the Supreme Court ruled that his actions were unconstitutional, the actions stood. They were not negated. So what you're seeing right now is Democrats and Republicans lobbying to be on the side of who they perceive to be the victors. They're trying to curry favor. As Osama bin Laden famously said, the people like to back the strong horse. And right now, the Democrats are seen as the strong horse. Well, when Trump is done, two things. One, the people who did this will be very, very... This is my favorite, one of my favorite aphorisms of all time. They'll wish that their mothers had never met their fathers. That's one. And the second one, Trump won't be seen as the strong horse. He'll be seen as a thundering herd of Clydesdales. After Trump reveals everything, every single swing state will rush to certify Trump as the real winner because they didn't sign up for what is going to be revealed. Now, the Democrats have so muddied the waters, and the press has so muddied the waters, that people can rationalize going along with it. There's no evidence that Biden cheated, so yeah, we're going to... But if Trump proves, using all the information he got from his 5 different military organizations, military intelligence organizations, that this election was absolutely stolen, then even Democrat governors aren't going to want to have anything to do with that. And they're going to create their own thundering herd of people rushing to certify Trump as a real winner. And they're going to be wagging their little tails and they're going to be going, please don't hurt me. And, that's what's going to happen. So, I don't know when Trump is going to present this information. I thought he's going to do it in the Supreme Court and then they would rule that the elections were invalid. But he may not do that. He may not have to do that. He may just have a press conference and then call out whoever was in charge of this whole thing. And that guy will give a PowerPoint presentation. And then, we're going to see every single state certify for Trump because, they all understand now they're really up the creek. And then, of course, that's when the Justice Department steps in. The reason the Justice Department hasn't done anything yet is because Trump is letting a couple of things. He's going through the step-by-step process, and he's letting everybody see how corrupt things are. So we had a judge in Pennsylvania.
All right, I'm going to hold it right there because this is what I want to tell you right now. I was listening to X22, and Dave on X22 always says they have to see for themselves what's going on. That's very significant, and I've not watched this yet. That is what they need to do.
Pennsylvania say that, you know, there was good reason to stop the counting because the people filing the case had they basically had enough to prove that they were right. Well, the Supreme Court threw it out. All right, lacks merit. So, you know, Trump knew this was going to happen, so that's why he didn't leave anything to chance. He used the heaviest of all heavy hitters, and he got the real goods. And, you know, when he reveals it, believe you me, that's going to knock the fight out of pretty much everybody. The only reason the Democrats feel so confident in threatening to detain Trump indefinitely as a national security threat is that they're too stupid to understand that he outsmarted them by a factor of 5 billion, you know. They as my friend Saul said, stupid and arrogant is, I mean, when you're stupid and arrogant, then you're going down. I mean, you know, you can't survive. So now just I know a lot of you were thinking, you know, what if scenarios. If, and it won't happen, if Biden is sworn in and they do follow through on arresting Trump, what would happen? Obviously they would send federal law enforcement agents to arrest Trump. Trump would not expect the Secret Service to put up a fight against essentially their own. That would be a hell of a choice to make. And, you know, when it comes down to it, Trump actually has his own private forces, but that would put them in the position of if the feds, you know, if they called in the army or whatever and Trump's people lost, now they're...
And there's another point right there. This is what I've heard. This is what they got rid of Israel. They fired him. They brought somebody else in because he would have told the military to stand down if any riots broke out in this scenario.
They're going to get executed. Trump knows that. And you could forget about a military coup. That's not going to happen because the waters have been so successfully muddied, and despite what everybody says about oath keepers and all that, we simply don't have it in us to launch a third world style coup, overthrow the civilian government, and you know, install a military regime and have new elections. We don't have it in us to do that, and without the entire armed forces on board, you know, it's simply there's no chance of it happening. So what the military would do is they would rationalize it and they would say, well, you know, maybe it won't be as bad as everybody's saying or whatever. And this is because the waters have been so muddied. And Trump knows all of this too. All he has to do is present the information that he says he has. And the whole thing will turn itself around. But the Democrats, by now openly saying that Trump can't be trusted with what he already knows after he leaves office, what does that mean? there's only one thing one conclusion you could draw from that, is that they're planning to arrest him as a national security threat. Biden will write the executive order, and it'll happen. Don't kid yourself. It would happen. But it's not going to happen because Biden's not going to be sworn in. Okay? They've already been defeated. Trump already defeated them. So, as I always tell you, all is well. And you got to believe that. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. You have to trust Trump. You have to finally trust Trump.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't trust Trump, you're not going to ever be at peace of mind. And let me tell you, I'm totally at peace with everything, because I know Trump's got this. I'm not even following the news. I'm really not. There's no point. I'm not following either. Of course, I stopped watching TV 15 years ago, but I'm not even following conservative news, because you got to see the big picture. And the big picture is that this is all coming down to one thing, and that is Trump revealing everything he's got. Donald Trump Jr. said, release all the evidence, and Trump will. We don't know when, but he will. So don't worry. Click.
That's funny. Here's part 2. Oh, come on. Seriously? I gotta do it this way.
Hello. Yesterday I posted part 1 of a 2-part video, and today is the second and final part. My premise is that they are going to arrest Trump the second he's no longer president and hold him as a national security threat, and Biden will sign an executive order and Trump will be held indefinitely because he's just too dangerous to let go. And one of the talking points that I got from my communist brother, and I started seeing everywhere, is that Trump is the most dangerous president in American history. And this stems from the false allegation that he's, a foreign agent. The reality, of course, is that Joe Biden is a foreign agent, as his son's laptop proves that Joe's entire family is getting deals from the Chinese, and the Chinese are already dictating terms to Biden. They're already telling him what they're going to do and what they're not going to do and what he has to do. And it's exactly the same as the alleged negotiations with Iran over their nuclear program, that an Iranian defector, I think he was a photographer, he said that the Americans were actually negotiating for Iran. And if you recall, the Iranians kept making additional demands, and they were all agreed to immediately. And it's going to be the same with the Chinese, that they'll simply make endless demands to which Biden will acquiesce because they've bought him. They own him. So the real foreign agent is not Trump, it's Biden. But one of the reasons they want to put Trump away is that, he'll be able to defend himself and spill the beans and, do a whole heck of a lot of stuff. But the major talking point, okay, the accusation that he's a national security threat, it continues to this day. And, I found it sort of inexplicable that, the Democrats, the more they lost, the more frenzied they got in their accusations. And, it was like everything in Latin. Now Trump is a mass murderer because, he allowed this pandemic to kill so many people. And, they're basically piling everything on so that they can rationalize, instantly arresting Trump and putting him away where we won't even know. And they'll say, well, we've got the authority under, Biden has declared a national state of emergency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what they started doing immediately was they started accusing Trump of revealing classified information. And if you look at this NBC article, it's got a whole bunch of links to the things that Trump allegedly revealed. And so, I hadn't paid attention to this stuff that much because I knew it wasn't accurate. But this time I went back and I confirmed, and every one of these accusations is bogus. Like they are literally fabrications. And what I figured, they were just keeping up this steady drumbeat of trying to discredit Trump sort of impotently, but they actually had a plan. And the plan was to get to this point. They're going to steal the election, and the only problem was that Trump got a massive landslide, which they weren't expecting. So they had to go crazy manufacturing ballots, 700,000 ballots dumped in Pennsylvania alone. But if you notice, the Democrats got demolished in every other election. They underperformed. I mean, you can't even call it underperforming. They were complete flat tires, and they had to put all their energy into getting presidency, and that's pretty much the only thing they got. And that's why the Biden administration is going to be an absolute dictatorship, because that's the only way they can keep things, ram things through. And Republicans in the past never put up a fight. George W. Bush didn't put up a fight. He always said, we'll let history decide. And, so Trump took that sort of expectation and he turned it against the Democrats. He didn't fight back because he did fight back a bit, but he didn't fight back to the point of proving things, because he knew what was coming, and he knew that this is a perfect opportunity to trap them. And, this is why he has to release everything he knows, and you can bet that he's got the real vote count, and he can prove everything with, concrete evidence that nobody can argue with about. Nobody can dispute. So, the accusations about Trump being a national security threat in terms of leaking classified intelligence, there's too many to to sort of get into. The video would be like 8 hours long, but I want to concentrate on one. And it started with this tweet where Trump tweeted out a photo of the destruction of the Iranian rocket that, you know, the thing blew up on the launch pad. And what everybody said was that Trump had revealed the capabilities of American spy satellites, that this was the highest resolution satellite image ever that the United States had ever published. Well, there's no evidence that that's a satellite image, and my best guess is that it was taken by an aircraft. There's lots of problems with this photo. The photo was actually a leak marker, and for those of us who examine photos very closely, this thing has been doctored. The shadows are all wrong. The shadows should all be going in exactly the same direction, and they don't. And that means that this thing is essentially been doctored in order to alert certain people that this is not real. And the thing is full of terms that don't exist or terms that are misused. Allegedly, this came from the American intelligence community, but if you look at the labels put on, the very professional labels, okay, they call it a propellant burner trailer. There's no such thing. Look up that phrase in quotation marks on Google, and you'll find that the only references to that are, you know, in relation to this photo. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a propellant burner trailer. A propellant burner is another term for the injector that injects fuel into oxidizer in a liquid fueled rocket, which this Iranian rocket was. The way that these liquid fuel rockets work is that you have a fuel and you have an oxidizer, and when they...
Well, I'm not going to confirm or deny this because I don't remember even seeing this tweet at all.
come into contact with each other, they combust. And so what you do is you use this injector or propellant burner to slowly begin the combustion process, and then you the more power you want to give it, the more you open the tubes that mix the two of them, and then the thing reaches the point where there's enough combustion going on that it can take off. And so that's one, that thing, that propellant burner or injector, that's it.
And the one thing he is forgetting to mention, we can read license plates from our satellites. We could see that from outer space, that's for sure.
An integral part of the rocket itself. It's not trucked up to the site and then attached because it's on the inside. It's built into the rocket. So calling that thing a propellant burner trailer is nonsense. Another definition for propellant burner is a facility used to incinerate rocket fuel in such a way that it meets with environmental standards. And it's a giant incinerator. There's no such thing as a trailer propellant burner, and you wouldn't need one because they know exactly how much fuel and how much oxidizer to put into this rocket. The way it works is that the empty rocket is brought to the site by a mobile erector launcher, and that's another problem with this photo. You can see that mobile erector and launcher have hyphens, and that's not how the term is written. The intelligence community would not write it that way. It's always written mobile space erector space launcher. They're known as MELs. These are leak markers because people went to the press and they said, what's a propellant burner trailer? And the guy went, the dumbass who's their source said, oh, well, it's part of the conglomerate used in the fractant of the Scanadi. And they didn't ask him about the hyphens in mobile erector launcher. So, when Trump was asked about this photo, he said, I'm not going to tell you where I got it. That's your job to find out. Well, they don't do any research. They're idiots. They don't know anything. And so they were fooled by this bogus photo. The photo was not taken by an American satellite, even though there was one in the area at the time, apparently. There are these satellite trackers, these amateurs who say, there was one right over the site at that time. Well, we don't know when that photo was taken. And if you go by the shadows, none of it makes sense because the shadows should all go in one direction, and they don't. You can see for yourself, at least one of the vertical shadows is several degrees off the direction of all the others. So, and the shadows of the buildings, they're not right. So it's a doctored photo. It was a leak marker that they were able to catch whatever source is blathering to the press. And okay, what you do is you have the leaker confirm, yes, it's a propellant burner trailer, and then you have another person who knows various reporters, and they have conversations at bars and everything, and the guy starts yapping about his source telling him about the propellant burner trailer, and you ask everybody else, and this guy is the only one. You could figure out who the leaker is. So that was Trump flipping off the world and not exposing any classified intelligence. Every single accusation made against Trump about leaking classified intelligence is bogus. It's each accusation depends on persons familiar with the situation or former intelligence or former military or whatever. If you look at the claim is made that Trump spilled the beans about all sorts of classified intelligence when he was describing the raid that killed al-Baghdadi. He did no such thing. You can read for yourself the transcript of that press conference. All he said was Special Operations Forces, and the press, being idiots, thought he meant Special Forces, which means Army, and the Army Special Forces are Green Berets, and Delta Force is actually they're Green Berets. And Trump said no such thing. We don't know who carried out that raid. He never said Delta Force, but if you look at descriptions of the raid, they all say Delta Force. There's no evidence that it was Delta Force. What Trump did, the most he said was 8 helicopters, and he said, "Oh my God, that is giving away ways and, or what is it, means and methods, or something like that." I can't think of the term right now. Well, how do they think these people got there? Did they walk? Did they take dune buggies? No, they took helicopters. Of course, that's not going to be a surprise to any terrorist. That's not giving away anything to our enemies. What they did was they fabricated a claim that Trump gave away classified intelligence describing the al-Baghdadi raid, and he didn't. It's an absolute falsehood, but it adds to the narrative that Trump is the most dangerous president, the most dangerous man in America, and he needs to be locked up because the claim is that his empire is suffering. It's $400 million in debt. And so the second he gets out of office, he's going to be selling national security secrets to the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians. You have to be an imbecile to believe this. That sort of thing would be tracked down and stopped instantly. For one thing, the Russians wouldn't be able to keep it a secret, and for another thing, there's literally no way for Trump to communicate with the Russians, even as a former president. And they say that former presidents are routinely given intelligence briefing. No, they're not. Intelligence briefings. They are on occasion, but they're not regularly, because they don't have any power. Why would you waste time briefing a former president? It's just not. This isn't. There's no evidence that Trump gave Obama intelligence briefings. So again, this is all completely made up. They've fabricated every single accusation they made against Trump, but the press is going along with it. You look at any mainstream media report about Trump leaking classified intelligence, and they say, "Oh, he's been doing it since his first day in office," and he's actually never done it once. And in reality, we've kept incredible secrets. As you know, Mike Pompeo went to Pyongyang and came back, and nobody knew. He was head of the CIA at the time. So Trump doesn't leak classified intelligence. That's all there is to it. But this is what they're going to use to justify arresting Trump as a national security threat. They're building up to it. And as of this second, they're saying he shouldn't get any more intelligence briefings, but they're already saying he can't be trusted with what he knows right now. Well, how would you prevent him from selling information that he knows right now? Got to lock him up. Got to have an executive order declaring him a special national security threat and lock him up, and ignore any kind of legal challenge, and just do it because Joe the Great and Terrible has signed his executive order. And you can bet that most Americans would believe, I won't say most, at least half of Americans would believe that Trump is a national security threat who needs to be locked up. People are idiots. They are They're already lamenting the fact that they voted for Biden. Well, cry me a river, morons. Click. Hello.
That's funny. They are morons. Oh, shoot. Yeah, he does make a lot of good sense, but really, we do have satellites that can read a license plate, and he makes a good point. He does this quite a bit, but I wouldn't call it a lie. I call it a trap. I don't like the word lie. It's not becoming, I guess. Only if it fits. Now, I got one more thing for you. I love that. It's just, it tickles me to death when he says that. Hello. I got one more thing for you. And I really been debating whether or not to play this. It's really, I've had this for like 3 weeks. So I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. I'm not going to say it's real. I'm not going to say it's not real. I can't prove it. But I found it very interesting because it's the gentleman from China who works with Steve Bannon. And he is the one who has been helping expose the CCP for what they are. But the story that he is presenting at this point is really I can't really describe it because I don't know. It's just one of those things. You want to believe it, but you don't know if you can believe it, you know? So I'm going to show you, and you use your own judgment on this. Again, this is a gentleman that helped Steve Bannon. Now, I trust Steve Bannon. He's a very smart guy. He's very anti-CCP. He has been hitting them hard for a long time. He is loyal to the president. I'm very sure of it. He fires you up. You got to watch Pandemic. If you don't watch it, man, I'm telling you, you're missing a lot. And if you need to get burned and fired up and get all jacked up, I'm telling you, watch it. He pumps you up. He is just as good as the president, and when he's on a roll, he's on a roll. He's got good reporters working for him on Newsmax. So here is this. It does come with subtitles.
告诉大家啊，其实昨天晚上我就已经知道了重要的、绝对可靠信息来源，情报来源说拜登啊专门去找了麦康奈尔，知道吧？找麦康奈尔，
明白，麦康奈尔。
对，参议院绝对老大嘛，是不是？华盛顿 DC 里真正的啊，
对，
势力排名第3的人，
对，
排名第4的人啊，说什么呢？因为麦康奈尔啊，就是拜登自己已经知道，他这些法庭的，就是只要有一个法庭裁决了，他整个全输。他说只要在法律上，因为他自己心里很清楚的，告诉大家，他说让麦康奈尔说意思什么意思呢？他说他不相信川普总统，但是呢相信麦康奈尔。他说让麦康奈尔给他做担保啊，一旦这个法律上出了，就是他自己心里清楚，法律上一定会真相全部会出来的。那个时候，他会主动承认败选，但是前提条件让川普。
They do a lot of news from the states and about the election. He's with Free China Movement. So all I can say is do your research, because I cannot confirm or deny the report. On that note, God bless all of you. I appreciate you coming in, sticking around, and just viewing and all the retweets and likes. And please leave a comment if you'd like to. I hope you've enjoyed it. So remember, Sunday night, 10:30, me and Beth will be on. I have a special interview coming up. It will be pre-taped, so I will announce that Sunday night. God bless all of you. God bless President of the United States, Vice President, and their families, and God bless Secret Service, who put their lives on the line every day to protect them. God bless law enforcement, military, first responders, and Border Patrol, and Coast Guard, and God bless America, of course. We are headed on the road to victory. We will get there. Do not fret, do not faint, do not thunder. Just keep the faith, keep moving, keep walking, whatever you're doing. Don't go towards the ledge of doubt. Get back here. We're going to win this. We're almost there. It's still going to be tough. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but you can't give in. We got to fight. We got to make sure we keep everybody in the fight. Hold the line. Let's go. Let's kick their ass. Every day is a victory. Every day. I'll see you soon.